Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I'm George. We're all George. So good morning. Welcome to another market open stream. The market bell is about to ring, but today I have to warn you guys about crypto bank Silvergate. I think a lot of you guys know about Silvergate and its problems, but today its stock is plunging almost 50%. What has happened, and should we be worried? Is this going to cause another contagion in the crypto space? Let's talk about this, and let's talk about what's going on with Bitcoin and everything else from today. So let's get started. Welcome, guys. The market bell has just rung, and today, again, a mixed day. Looking weak with tech. You can see NASDAQ futures down about 1%. Dow futures up a little bit. But the market bell open, so this should be updating. Okay, as you can see, about the same. There's still a lot of uncertainty at this point. We got some economic data this morning. Jobless claims, 190,000 came in versus the forecast of 195,000 versus last week's of 192,000. What does this show? This shows the U.S. economy is strong. So people that are claiming unemployment actually forecasted was supposed to be 5,000 more, but it's 5,000 less. And it's 2,000 less than the week before. So this means the job market is still strong. People claiming unemployment not as high as anticipated, right? So something like this is really good. But again, something like this scares Wall Street because this is one of the criteria Powell looks at in terms of determining whether or not to remain hawkish and remain on its current path with rate hikes or start decreasing it, because he wants to actually see the job market weaken and soften, and that's not happening right now as more and more businesses hire more employees at this point, right? So we got this economic data came out, which is actually spectacular if you think about it, but again, causing hesitation among Wall Street investors, all right? And in terms of the next FOMC meeting, the next rate hike, now it's up to 30% chance that we will get 50 basis points versus 25 basis points, okay? So still, most people think we'll get that 25 basis points, and that's good. But 50 would really push things back. Although one other thing that I'm looking at is DXY, and DXY is just going up and up and up and up. Right, 105 now. We seemingly we're reversing. Right, we went from 114 all the way down to 101. Seemed like we were going to break below 100, and then all of a sudden we started creeping up. 102, 103, yesterday 104, now we're in 105. We certainly do not want to see this go up. Whenever DXY starts going up, bad things happen for risk-on assets like tech stocks and crypto, right? We certainly don't want to see that happen. But again, when there's a lot of uncertainty, what do people do? They flock to the US dollar, which to me makes no sense. Okay, this is the one thing we should hold less of, not more of, because the government can print unlimited amounts of it. So why would you want to hold on something when the government can print unlimited amount at any time and just dilutes all the other dollars out there? It doesn't quite make a whole lot of sense, but that's just the way the market is. People follow tradition. Other things today. Tesla had their investor day yesterday. They announced a lot of stuff, but it's all future stuff. No one knows when any of the products or their new phase 3 will be coming. No one knows. And Tesla stock is diving this morning, down about 7%. Yeah, 7%, not looking good. So again, I was just texting my friends about this. They're like, oh yeah, investors are looking for something to be announced. I'm like, yeah. Or you might as well just announce Mars colonization, right? Just talk about what's going to happen after we colonize Mars. I mean, investors are tuning in because they want to know if they should continue to buy stock or not. You know, Tesla needs to give something of substance with these investor meetings, and really nothing was said yesterday. Anyways, Macy's did also report. They actually had a pretty good Q4, right? But they're also forecasting weakness for the remainder of this year, or uncertainty, okay? Everyone is giving the same story. Lowe's just recently, Home Depot, like everyone is stating the same thing. Target said the same thing. All these retailers, these big box stores are saying, yeah, we had a pretty good Q4, but you know what? This year, we're not quite so sure what's going to happen, right? So adding to the uncertainty, that's for sure. And what's really adding to uncertainty for crypto is this bank right here, which you could see is down 45%, 46%. It was down nearly 50%, okay? And I'm talking about crypto bank Silvergate. Now, I call it crypto bank, and everyone else calls it crypto bank. Not that they're really a bank for crypto, but they do invest and loan out to a lot of crypto companies, so they're crypto friendly, okay? And today they are nosediving, and I do believe this is adding to some uncertainty again and some fear to Bitcoin and crypto overall, because it seems like they are about to close shop. I don't know if they can survive this, but the reason why is twofold. Number one, they are going to delay their annual report because their losses are tremendous. So tremendous, in fact, they need more time to calculate it. So that's number one. So whenever a company says, I can't release my reports on my losses, well, that's a big red flag, right? That's a huge red flag. And another red flag that's even bigger is their CEO is saying, well, we may get inquiries, okay? From who? Possibly from Congress, from bank regulators, and even Department of Justice. These are inquiries that no bank wants to see, and investors certainly do not want to see these inquiries happen. That means they not only lost a whole bunch of money, but they were doing some shady things behind the scenes, right? No one wants to see that. But after he said, well, we may face inquiries and we're delaying annual report, you could see why their stock is plunging right now. There's no consumer confidence at this point. There's no confidence at all, not just from consumers or retail investors, but from institutions. Everyone is getting out. Coinbase also released this, saying that we will no longer be doing business with Silvergate. Okay, no longer accepting or initializing payments to or from Silvergate. And it's not just them. All these other crypto exchanges that do business with Silvergate, they are pulling out, so to speak, right? Binance.us also pulled out. There was some controversy how they pulled out like 1.5 billion or 1.8 billion. Well, it seemed like they knew what was coming. So they also pulled out. And all these other places are getting out of Silvergate because, you know, the end seems to be near, right? And what really triggered the downfall of Silvergate is, unfortunately, FTX and SBF, okay? Silvergate loaned a huge amount to FTX before their collapse. And, of course, after the collapse, they lost it all. They posted a $1 billion loss after this, you know, FTX debacle. But now that they're calculating, you know, their annual loss, it could be even more. You know, I think that's part of the reason why they can't calculate things because they just lost too much. They lost too much. And when you're a bank and you lose consumers, you lose their trust, and there's no more deposits, and it's only withdrawals. I mean, this is what's called a bank run, and that's what's happening right now. And it doesn't seem like anyone is going to save them unless, and this is what surprised me, and this is what This could be one of the greatest fake outs ever. And it was due to this article. Silvergate shares jump after BlackRock increased their stake. Now, BlackRock is into everything, right? But this was just a month ago when it was reported BlackRock and all these others increased their stake in Silvergate, which made me think, okay, if BlackRock has confidence in Silvergate, then they can't really be going under, right? BlackRock has to be supporting them. Well, now that I think about it, you know, this could have been the greatest fake out ever in history. This could have been BlackRock thinking, okay, we need to pull our shares out, okay? And we can't do so without causing people to be suspicious. So let's actually buy some more shares. Let the reporters report to the media, or the media report to the people that we have confidence in them. And while it's going up, let's dump, okay? That may be what happened. And this shows you exactly what BlackRock and others do. I believe. They are great at faking out people, misdirecting one way or another. I'm thinking that's what happened exactly. Like, they all like colluded and basically said, yeah, let's like to make the media think that Silvergate is okay, right? And then we're just going to dump on the retail investors. That's quite possibly what happened. Now, there could be a second scenario, which is now BlackRock is going to save them and buy them out pennies on the dollar because they already hold a good amount of shares. That could also be the case, but I think it's one of the two. I don't know. It's one of the two. It's very likely the very first scenario. And also, MicroStrategy has some exposure to Silvergate. I don't know if there could be some kind of clawback, okay? I don't know what happens in these kind of scenarios where banks go under. Can they claw back their loans? Because MicroStrategy just took out a $205 million Bitcoin collateralized loan. Well, not, I shouldn't say just took out. This was actually last year. This is last year, not this year. But still, they took out a $205 million loan from Silvergate, right? So what happens? Can Silvergate claw this back and ask for it back? Sure. And this would not be a good time, right, for MicroStrategy, who is still down on their Bitcoin holdings, right? But Bitcoin has come up from March to now, right, year over year. So it could be somewhat beneficial. But anyways, Silvergate is really, they have loaned out a lot of money to a lot of crypto companies, and now they're looking like they're about to close their doors. That's what it looks like. All right, so that's Silvergate. There's a lot of uncertainty around them. Do they hold any Bitcoin? Not that I know of, not that I could see. It hasn't been reported. So if you're wondering, well, is there any direct exposure to, let's say, Bitcoin? No, I don't believe they hold any Bitcoin. They're not going to sell off any Bitcoin if that's what you're thinking. But there's just definitely a lot of uncertainty there. All right, now outside of Silvergate and the U.S. market, what about Bitcoin? Well, this is the reason why people turn to Bitcoin, because can you really trust banks? Can you really trust centralized companies that could collapse at any time? The one thing that won't collapse is Bitcoin, because it's not a company. It's not a company. It doesn't inflate. It doesn't have annual meetings. It doesn't make loans out. Bitcoin is Bitcoin. It's controlled by code, right? And that is why so many people are turning to it. Number of Bitcoin wallets with holding one Bitcoin is nearing 1 million. And that number continues to climb higher and higher and higher. And it seems like every single year, despite the volatility, despite the down, the dips, the bottoms, the number of addresses continue to climb higher and higher and higher, and the reserves on exchanges continue to drop more and more and more ever since 2020 happened, that COVID crash of 2020, that was actually peak. And since then, more and more people are removing Bitcoin from the exchanges because they want to hold their own crypto, and also because there's just a lot more people buying Bitcoin, and that's the reason why. So both things are absolutely fantastic, and this is part of the growing fundamentals that I keep talking about. People don't quite understand. What do you mean growing fundamentals? The price is down. No, the price is actually has nothing to do with fundamentals. It's the network effect, the people, the holders, right? Addresses, all these good things, volume, transaction count, right? All good things. Now, of course, we are waiting to break out of our 25,000, right? We have hit it a couple times. We're a little bit below. Once we do, the target, of course, I mentioned is about 28 to 30,000. That's near term. But long term, as we're coming up from bottom, as we're moving to the next halving event, and as we're moving into the next bull run, the top, we can only guess. But we are definitely following previous patterns, just like you see here, right? First time around, Bitcoin hit about a 9 billion market cap, which at the time was insane. To break through, well, that should actually be, I think those are marked wrong. I think those are a million, okay, not billion. So 9 million market cap. People freaked out, right? And then the second time, it went up to 333 million. Then people freaked out even more. And then it hit 1.2 billion, right? This next bull run, can we see Bitcoin at 3, 4, 5 billion in market cap? Just Bitcoin, not the entire crypto space, right? Possibly, and look at, the time it takes to form a new top and form a new bottom, and the growth, right? We are seeing diminishing growth, obviously, because the value of Bitcoin is getting higher. But who knows? This time around, could we see another 200%, 250%, maybe even more because of the institutional adoption that's been happening over the years? This is what we're waiting for, right? So short term, some milestones we need to hit. Long term, still according to plan. And in terms of the ecosystem, let's not forget, is growing. There's this sentiment from some that, yeah, we don't need Ethereum and others. We can grow all that in Bitcoin or on chain, and it's starting to happen. There's a lot of DeFi, there's a lot of wallets, and of course, let's not forget now NFTs, and NFTs are starting to skyrocket as well because of ordinals and because of inscriptions, and it is definitely helped bring more excitement, let's say, to Bitcoin. So great things are coming. Just got to stay strong and patient and realize that all the bad short-term things that I'm talking about only helps support Bitcoin's case. So there you go. All right, that is pretty much it. Let's see. Overall market is still kind of iffy. Let's do some Q&A. All right, let me scroll up here. Let me bring this up. There we go. Scrolling. Oz, hope you're doing well. Thoughts on recession looming? Well, Oz, I talk about this almost every single day. So, to summarize, economic data doesn't support that. We're already in recession. Okay, this notion of a deeper, heavier hitting recession, I'm not so sure that's the case. I mean, even this morning, you know, jobless claims is coming in lower than expected, right? Even though people are not spending as much, people are definitely saving, right? There is softening with consumer demand, with purchases, but that does not mean things will get much worse. I mean, that's how I see it because the economic data doesn't support it. And inflation, even though it's going down slower, still going down. Watch everyday thoughts on FT fraction protocol. I have no idea what that is. I'm sorry. Background music needed. I'm reluctant to play music because it may not be the music that people want to hear. So yeah, so that's why I don't play music. Let's see here. Wow, there's actually a chat on Rumble today. Sometimes Rumble is just filled with one person chatting. Not looking good. S&P 500 losing support. I mean, what's really not looking good is the DXY. We don't want to see DXY continue upwards. When people are flocking to the dollar, when the dollar strength is gaining, that means everything else is losing, right? Which to me seems silly, but it's really like kind of like a reaction. Whenever Wall Street does not like what they see, what do? They flock to dollars or bonds, right? That's why treasury yields have been going up and DXY have been going up. And whenever that happens, that means they're selling off everything else. Thoughts on Scott Melker talking his crypto audience to Twitter Space? I have no thoughts on it. Why would you ask me that? What do you want me to say? What do you want me to say? I don't watch him. I don't watch anyone else. So, yeah. Yeah, and I don't quite get the benefits to Twitter Spaces. It's just, yeah, you get people to talk, but everyone's talking and saying the same thing, and I don't know. It could be more fun, I guess, but it doesn't appeal to me at all. I haven't sold a single thing this bear market. Buy. Well, that's one way to do it. DCA. Just DCA along the way or buy the dips, right? Buy things when they are cheap, not when they are expensive. Most people don't do that. Most people fall for FOMO. They want to wait for a confirmation, like someone to tell them, okay, this is it, right? Or they wait for it to go up a certain amount before buying them. And I get it. We all fall for it, right? It's a little bit of FOMO, a little bit of confirmation. Do we really hit bottom, right? Are things really flipping? I get it. It's human nature, right? But for people that are planning on being in crypto and attaining financial freedom or life-changing wealth, right? People that want to stay in for years, not just weeks or days, well, then the surest strategy, in my opinion, is just to play the long game and DCA. Set a schedule, DCA, take the guessing out of it. Gossip Goy. I don't even know how to say that. Gossip. I'm just going to call you Gossip. CRO should not be similar to FTX. There was a bank run on Crypto.com a little bit before when there was a lot of contagion fears, and they withstood it. They had enough assets to withstand it, and so far so good. You know, with crypto exchanges, you really don't know, right? You really don't know what may happen. But what happened to FTX was a bank run, and they couldn't stop it, right? And bank runs happen with a lot of exchanges. They happen with Crypto.com, with Binance, with Coinbase. They happen with all of them, and every single one withstood it. So I don't know if that's what you're asking about, but they may get in some trouble for their staking rewards because they were offering staking rewards for a long time in the US, and SEC may go after them on that or ask them at least to stop like they did with Kraken. What are the chances ETH or even Matic, because EKEVM will be the chain of choice for tokenized stocks? I don't know. Sure, it could happen. It could happen, but I don't think anyone wants that to happen because tokenized stocks are still stocks and they're securities. So I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. And I don't think anyone wants that to happen. If you want to trade stocks, just go use a brokerage and trade stocks. Why would you want to buy a tokenized stock? I mean, I get it. If you're overseas or something, you want to buy a stock that you like, it's great, but then it just makes the whole thing a security, and any platform that's serving it as a security and will be known as a brokerage and need to be regulated. So I don't know. I don't think it's a good thing. Tom, good morning. Good morning. What am I drinking? Irish coffee? No, just black coffee. Polka started good buy. Daniel, I don't see anyone talking about Polka Starter. It's it's a launch pad, one of the very first. And no one uses launch pads anymore. If you have a great project, you don't need a launch pad to launch it. So I'm going to say no. And am I bullish on DOT? I'm not bullish, but I like other projects better. Let's just put it that way. Whereas Tesla's still down 6%. I wonder because of Silvergate. Well, Silvergate is coming up a little bit, so that's better. What about like Coinbase today? Jesus, man. Coinbase, look at that. Coinbase was pulled down by Silvergate. Ouch. Ouch. Well, that just means time to load up more on coin. Today, crypto and tech stocks are not doing good. Not doing good. Even though Nasdaq's only down 0.62%. Bitcoin is still holding down a little bit, 23.3. So, but overall, the pattern is upwards. Entire crypto market cap down a little bit today. there's definitely more strength in Bitcoin once again. We're seeing alt sell off a lot faster these days. There is still definitely a lot of strength in Bitcoin, which is the reason why I tell you guys, even if you're diversified, right, 50% in Bitcoin is always good. Good allocation there. Mike, I love you, man, but don't be like that. Don't be saying stuff like that. It's just annoying. Hey, George, can't wait until this June for Congress to raise the debt ceiling so they can turn money printers on full plastic. Well, recently I just covered about cash injections from other central banks. Japan and China has done it. So will the Fed follow? Will the ECB follow? Quite possibly. I could see the ECB turning out their money printers again. The Fed, I'm not so sure, but we'll see. The debt ceiling will be interesting. They will for sure raise it, right? But are they going to cut some programs, right? Or are they really just going to spin on the money printer and try to sell more bonds? You know, it's going to be interesting. Any thoughts on zero knowledge being built into Cadena's main chain? The programming language got updated from what I understand. Cadena doesn't need any more scaling, but I think the reason for that was to add privacy features, so private transactions. That's okay. A lot of chains are doing that for that purpose, to give you an option if you wanted to hide your transactions. The thing is, it just brings on more scrutiny with the regulators. They don't want to see hidden or privacy transactions. Salamundo, ECB can't go against the Fed. Neither Bank of England. They got a trust for try. I don't know. Yeah, it does seem like Christine Lagarde is following Powell very closely, although the ECB rates are still really behind the Fed rates. So we'll see. But, you know, Europe has excuse to spin up the money printers because of the war, an ongoing war, right? So they do have a pretty good excuse. Hey, we need to just, you know, inject more liquidity. That could happen if you think about it. I have 25K to put into Bitcoin. How should I do that? Chris, you do that over time. You don't want to do that right away. Spread it out. DCA, set a schedule for yourself. And there's many exchanges that can help you to do that, right? You could just set it so like every Friday, every 2 weeks, every month, every paycheck, whatever, right? Do it slowly. I don't suggest just jumping in. Most people, they do that. They put all their money in, and then if the market turns red, they're like, oh, I don't have any more money to put in, right? That's the biggest thing. You want to make sure you always have enough cash on the side. Am I creating any more entities? Yes. Yes. Right now, there's still a few being sold. The strap-on one and the Lego one. But, yeah, in the future. And I'm still trying to create use case for them, specifically around the GeorgeCon event, right? And I may have something even this year around Bitcoin 2023. So for those existing holders, I may have something planned for you guys. I'm kind of working something out right now. Mobile care. Why is Coinbase crashing? Because of Silvergate. I had a lot of calls at 80 expiring in April and mid-March. Yeah, they're probably all down like 50%. I have some calls, but mine is in December and June. So whenever you're playing with calls, you got to be careful because you're basically betting against time, right? And Coinbase, well, the good thing is you can buy a little bit more while things are down. It's down because people are just fearful. People think that Coinbase and Silvergate somehow are one and the same, and they're not. They're completely different. Coinbase, I have faith in because I know as the crypto market comes up, Coinbase will do well. Their profits and users will skyrocket once again. Silvergate, on the other hand, they already lost all that money to FTX and others, so there's no way that they're going to come out of this alive unless BlackRock and Soros and others, they do a hostile takeover and then they, sell the assets, which they may be preparing for, or they were just faking people out and dumping their shares while this was being reported. I don't know. One of the two. Utero, don't get confused with JP Morgan and Cadena, okay? The people who started Cadena, they helped JP Morgan create JP Morgan coin and their chain, and then they left, okay? So, no, they don't control them. It has nothing to do with JP Morgan. It's just the guys came, their first experience was to create JP Morgan coin and chain, and they used that to use their knowledge to create Cadena. So, no. They're not theirs. They're not controlled by them. So I feel like you're spreading FUD for no reason. Rich, appreciate it. Listening to you gulp is sometimes unbearable. I mean, Jesus Christ. The people that complain about me drinking, is it really that bad? I'm not even drinking at the microphone. If I was drinking like this, it'd be much worse. I'm already like leaning back when I take a small sip. You guys just need to cool it or calm down. Internet not the best. I mean, there's been a lot of weather related issues here. So that could be the reason why my internet sometimes cuts out. Or Gary Gensler is trying to hack my internet. When did We Are All George start? Sometime in 2021. Sometime in 2021, I think. Or it could have been 20. I think it's 2021. It was just during bad times. What I like to do is make us all stay together, stay strong, right? Stay focused. And people are like, yeah, you should say we're all George. I'm like, all right. And I stuck with it. It's really just a copy of Negan. We're all Negan from Walking Dead, but it makes sense. Did you guys hear that? Did you enjoy that? Eventually, the uncertainty in the U.S. economy will only push people to Bitcoin and crypto. It's a matter of time. I mean, I'm glad to see people talk about the debt ceiling because me personally, like 40 years in my life, never paid attention to it. Never really understood it, right? Then I started understanding. I'm like, okay, What is removing the debt ceiling or raising the debt ceiling like every single year? What is that equivalent of? That's like every month. You call your credit card vendor and say, "Hey, my limit of 10,000 is not enough. You need to raise it to 12,000." And then the month after that, you're like, "Hey, that 12,000 is enough. Let's raise it to 14,000." And the next month is like, "Yeah, let's just raise it to 20,000." And then eventually, because you get to raise it every month, eventually let's just call and say, "Hey, just remove my limit. I'm just gonna keep spending." Right? That's kind of like what it is. The debt ceiling is meant to try to make the U.S. government physically responsible, meaning that, hey, okay, we should not incur more debt. Okay, this is our debt ceiling. This is how much we can't exceed, right? We're not even talking about making money. We're talking about how much we're losing money every year. This is the debt ceiling. And we just keep raising it every year, and we don't even have the money. You know, we're going deeper and deeper and deeper into the hole, and we're not collecting enough taxes to pay for it. So the only two things that we could do is borrow money by selling bonds. Okay, selling bonds means the U.S. government is borrowing because they have to pay those bonds back and pay interest on those borrowed money. And the second way is to just print more money, because if you can't sell, you can't borrow enough money, and you can't collect enough taxes, what do? Well, luckily, they have a money printer, and they can create more money. You know, it's the most irresponsible system there is. But that's just how the governments are run. Not just the U.S., every government out there is run the same way. I don't know how our financial system has been corrupted so much that we're in this vicious cycle where it'll never end. You know? It's like, if we don't raise the debt ceiling, then we can't pay our obligations. Meaning, the government may have to cut benefits, cut off, I don't know, Social Security and Medicare, cut off paying interest on those money that we borrowed, those bonds. And it could start a vicious cycle where it collapses everything, and no one wants to deal with that. No one wants to deal with it. So even though there's some infighting between, you know, the two sides, oh, they're just pretending like, oh, we want to fix things. It's not going to get fixed. None of them wants to deal with it. They just want to keep passing the buck until in the future it does all really collapse, and then, you know, it's on them. That's quite honestly the thing. So that's why I'm glad. Okay, I ranted a little bit, but that's why I'm glad to hear people talk about it, think about it, right? And realize that it's all really a giant scam, and we need to get into something better, like Bitcoin, something that isn't controlled by these corrupt systems and corrupt politicians, and can't be inflated, can't be created, you know, out of thin air. Yeah. There you go. All right, I ranted for a long time there. So, ETH to BTC price expectation for the next 3 years. Just know that 2024 is the halving event. So I've been showing a lot about the halving event. Good things will come, and the year after that, it's gonna be even better. Oh, I'm out of coffee. Just got my locked up assets off Celsius second day. What do you mean by that? Are they opening up again? I don't quite know what that means. I haven't heard a lot about Celsius recently, to be honest. I don't know what's going on with their bankruptcy hearing. You can withdraw now? Is it really? For everyone or just select people? I just got the email. I don't know what's going on in Celsius. I really don't. I'll have to look into it. I'm still DCAing to Silvergate. Just look at how much the big boys have their stock. You know, that's the thing. I don't know. Makes me wonder. Man, Coinbase is getting absolutely destroyed today. Absolutely destroyed. Silvergate, I just don't know if they could come back from this. I mean, these big boys, it could be just a giant fake out. Like, I don't know. I don't see how they could regain trust. If they lost the trust, no one is using them. No one's going to be borrowing them money. No one is using their service. Coinbase pulled out of them. All these other places pulled out of them. So I'm not quite sure. I'm not quite sure. All right, guys. So to conclude, yeah, Silvergate is bringing more FUD today. That's for sure. Bitcoin is down a little bit, but overall market is not looking good because of DXY skyrocketing, Fed worries once again. But the good thing is economic data points like jobless claims is coming in lower. That means the job market is still strong. Unemployment is still 50-plus year low. And more importantly, Bitcoiners continue to climb. And the more Bitcoiners we have, the better it is for Bitcoin and for the world. So smash it a like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you guys tonight, 8:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Take care. Bye-bye.